On March 9, 1983, Michael Jackson called the two biggest rival gangs in Los Angeles, the Bloods and the Crips, to shoot a music video. When they met, the situation got so tense that the police almost stopped the recording. But despite the heavy atmosphere, the King of Pop did something that forever changed the mindset of those young people. Today, I'm going to tell you the true story behind Michael Jackson's Beat It. I'm Guilherme, and you're watching Decipher Hits. Released as the third single from his sixth album, Thriller, in 1982, the song Beat It helped Michael Jackson break out of the pop scene and reach a whole new audience. A big part of that was thanks to the participation of one of the greatest rock legends, Eddie Van Halen, who delivered such an iconic solo on this track that it even caused a fire in the studio. But what a lot of people don't know is that another guitarist was supposed to participate instead of him, and that Van Halen actually recorded behind his own band's back, didn't receive a single cent for his participation, and later deeply regretted it. Besides these unbelievable facts, Beat It marked the first time Michael Jackson used large group choreography in his music videos, something that would soon become his trademark. But the most impressive thing isn't just the dancing, but also who was behind it. Members of the major Crips and Bloods gangs, chosen by Michael Jackson himself.
Did you actually call real gang members?
Yes, they're real. We invited a lot of gangsters for the video.
But how did the King of Pop manage to pull off such a feat and still come out alive? If he was such a peaceful guy, why did he make a video with gangs, arguments, and fights? And what was the actual production process of Beat It like, from the idea to the final solo? To understand that, we need to go back to 1981. That year, Michael Jackson started recording the Thriller album, when the legendary producer Quincy Jones suggested that he include a song with more of a rock and roll vibe on the record. It was a genre that was very popular at the time. Jackson accepted the suggestion, but with one condition, as he told Ebony magazine in 1983, "I wanted to write the kind of song that I would buy myself if I wanted to buy a rock song. And I wanted young people to really like it, both kids and college students." In his memoir, You Are Not Alone, Michael's brother, Jermaine Jackson, even claimed that the lyrics of Beat It were inspired by the family's experiences with gang activity in New York. In the decade when, despite Michael Jackson and his brothers having a good education and being raised very strictly by their father, it was common for them to see gangs fighting all over the neighborhood. "From our front window, we witnessed at least 3 nasty fights between rival gangs," Jermaine said. As for the melody of Beat It, it was developed entirely by Michael Jackson himself. The King of Pop wasn't very skilled at playing instruments, but he had already imagined the entire song in his head and just needed to show it to the producers somehow. So what did he do? He simply recorded the entire melody with his own voice on several audio tracks to simulate the instruments and vocal tracks, as you can hear in the demo of the song, recorded by him months before the song was produced.
Okay, this will be the harmony, the melody, and the chorus of Beat It.
When he heard the first recorded vocals, Quincy Jones said that was exactly what he was looking for. But there was still a crucial detail missing: a guitar solo. Initially, The Who's guitarist Pete Townshend was invited to do the solo, but Pete had a packed schedule and ended up recommending his friend Eddie Van Halen, guitarist and co-founder of the legendary hard rock band Van Halen. But, interestingly, when Eddie was contacted by Quincy Jones himself over the phone, he thought it was a prank. As he said in an interview with CNN in 2012, "I blew up at him. I said, 'What do you want, you son of a bee?' And he replied, 'Is this Eddie?' I said, 'Yeah, what the hell do you want? This is Quincy.' I thought, I don't know anyone named Quincy." He said, "Quincy Jones, man." I said, "Oh, sorry." At first, Eddie was reluctant to accept the invitation, since he had an agreement with his bandmates that they would never do side gigs or solo projects. But since the other members of Van Halen were out of town, Eddie decided to do it secretly, as a favor for Quincy, under the condition that he wouldn't be paid or credited for the work, because he didn't want the others to find out. In an interview with Q magazine, Eddie said, everyone in the band was out of town, and I thought, who's going to know if I play on this kid's song? I didn't want anything. Maybe Michael would give me some dance lessons someday. And today, Eddie's attitude might even seem strange, right? As if he was underestimating Michael Jackson's potential. But the reality is that his way of thinking was actually understandable at the time. Before Thriller, Michael Jackson wasn't yet the giant he would become later. He wasn't the king of pop yet. In 1981, many people saw him just as that kid from the Jackson 5. For Van Halen, even if the song Beat It was good, it would still need a good music video playing on MTV to gain any traction. And at the time, MTV made a point of not playing songs by black artists. When Van Halen arrived at the studio, Michael Jackson wasn't there. He was in the studio next door working for the legendary director Steven Spielberg. Michael was recording a narration for the children's music album for E.T., produced by Quincy Jones. But even though at that point Michael was almost done with that side project and almost coming back to the studio, Van Halen's time there was so overwhelming that he took only half an hour to record. Just so you know, man, the guitar solo was so intense that it caused a short circuit in one of the pieces of equipment, which ended up starting a small fire.
While he was playing, the speakers literally caught fire.
The speaker was covered in flames, and we all looked at each other and thought, and we're all looking at it thinking, this must be really good.
The technicians had to run to the control room with fire extinguishers to put out the fire.
And look, Van Halen only took 30 minutes because before recording, he listened to the demo, didn't like the structure of the song, and decided to rearrange the whole thing. Van Halen cut different sections of the chorus, reworked the middle of the song, and quickly recorded his hyper mega blaster guitar solo over it. But, incredibly, instead of thinking that the rocker ruined his song, Michael was very grateful for the contribution, as Eddie Van Halen himself told CNN.
Michael came in and I said, I hope you don't mind that I changed your song. And he listens and says, no, I really like that fast thing you do.
Later, when his bandmates found out about it, they reacted with strong disapproval. They even said that Eddie was a fool for not asking for a commission when he agreed to do the job. I was a complete idiot, according to the rest of the band, our manager, and everyone else. But I wasn't being taken advantage of. I knew what I was doing. I don't do anything unless I want to do it. Ironically, to make things worse, when Van Halen's 1984 album reached second place on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, for 3 weeks in March 1984, it was kept from the top only by Michael Jackson's Thriller album, which was still in first place 18 months after its release. In other words, Van Halen's solo helped prevent his own band from reaching the top that year. But despite being iconic, the solo isn't the only standout instrumental in this classic. To build the foundation of Beat It, other major artists contributed additional instrumental parts. It starts with notes played on the Synclavier digital synthesizer, performed by the musician Tom Baller. Tom Baller took this melody, note by note, from a demonstration album by Synclavier itself, released in 1981 called The Incredible Sound of a Synclavier 2. In addition, Beat It features several members of the band Toto, the one known for the hit Africa. The drums were played by Jeff Porcaro, co-founder of Toto. Meanwhile, Steve Lukather, also a member of Toto, played the iconic bass guitar riffs, as he himself mentions in this interview.
Yes, that's me doing that. And also that one. Well, I prefer.
But Lukather's riff didn't start out so smooth. When he found out that the hard rock legend Eddie Van Halen was on the track, his idea was to create something much heavier.
At first, I went straight in like this. Really cranked up. You know, something like that. Quincy said it's too heavy. I need this to play on pop and R&B radio. This is too heavy. Try to soften it up a bit. And all that. They wanted it repeated 45 times, but I said, no, no, no. I said it was more interesting this way. I convinced them, and they accepted my suggestion.
The choreography was created by Michael Peters, the same choreographer from Thriller, But it also had adjustments from Michael Jackson himself, who included his personality in the moves. And besides the 18 professional dancers and 4 breakdancers, the main cast included choreographer Vincent Patterson, actor Stoney Jackson, and guitarist Tracy Guns. Yes, one of the founders of Guns N' Roses. But the most impressive thing, without a doubt, was the participation of real members of the Bloods and the Crips, 2 of the biggest and most dangerous rival gangs in Los Angeles, who were called by Michael Jackson himself to act as extras, as told by the music video director, Bob Giraldi.
When we talked about directing Beat It, he asked me if I could include some Crips and Bloods as actors. Michael, how can I do that? First, I'm not going to go get them. I'm not walking down the street at night with a sign saying, Crips and Bloods, who wants to be in Michael's video? But Michael said, you know, I'll go get them, Bob, I will. If I go get them, would you film them? Sure, Michael, as long as there are enough police around, that's fine.
Michael really kept his promise. He called the gangsters, and on March 9, 1983, filming began. The scenes were filmed in an abandoned warehouse in the Skid Row neighborhood, a dangerous area in East Los Angeles. As required by the director, the set had a strong police presence. The Bloods and the Crips didn't need to dance or act. They just had to stand in the background watching as extras. But while the crew was filming the opening scenes, the rival gang members started to clash, and things began to get complicated.
And between takes, they started to get bored, as you would expect on any film set. So at the beginning of the evening, it started with a boom, boom, boom. A few punches were thrown, the police got nervous, one of the Crips fell to the ground, and they kind of take care of him. And he gets beaten up by some Bloods.
Things got so tense that the police had to step in and told the director it was safer to suspend filming. That's when Giraldi's instincts kicked in. He knew that if he stopped there, he would never bring those men back. He only had that one chance and knew he had to make it work. The director convinced the police officer to give him one last chance. All that was left was the final big dance scene, which was scheduled to be filmed the next day. But Giraldi realized that it had to happen right at that moment, or it would never happen again. The director ran, shouting for everyone to get ready. The music exploded in the warehouse, the doors opened, the dancers came in, the gangs moved forward, and what happened next, man, was something nobody could explain.
Michael Jackson comes down from the boxes and they start dancing. Suddenly, the other dancers start swinging their arms and dancing. And I'm watching the Crips and the Bloods. They're all lined up watching all of that. But the expressions on their faces are so fascinating that I run to my cameraman and say, film those faces, film those faces. And he focuses on their faces because their mouths were open, their eyes curious, watching young African Americans, probably gay, being more macho than they could ever be in their lives. They were watching the beautiful grace and symmetry of the dance, the choreography that they knew, no matter how hard they tried, they could never reproduce. It was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. To me, that was really the essence of Beat It. Seeing the real guys paying tribute to the young people who knew how to dance.
In a magnificent way, this event perfectly represented Michael Jackson's goal when composing the song. Beat It means get out, get lost, referring to the idea that it's always better to walk away from a fight than to fuel violence. Michael Jackson, brilliant as always, created a song with a gang-themed music video and an aggressive guitar solo to deliver a message of peace. Something very necessary not only back then, but still today. It's for reasons like these that Michael Jackson is, for me, the most complete artist who ever walked the face of the earth. But that wasn't the last time the king of pop had to deal with criminals to be able to shoot a music video. In 1996, when he came to Brazil, he had to face several corrupt politicians and even negotiate with the boss of a favela in Rio de Janeiro to be able to film safely. You can see this story in the video that's appearing up here. Just click to watch. And if you want to see new stories, unfiltered and uncensored, just click the join button and become a member of Decipher Hits. Thank you very much for staying until now, and I'll see you in the next video.